Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you very much for joining today's live webinar. I am Dr. Siddiqui from uh, New Divergent Business Consortium, and we are doing this live every week on Tuesday, 12 to 1, and I bring a special guest with me. Sometimes I do it alone, and we talk about different subject areas related to neurodiversity, disability, and other domains. So today I have a special guest, and we will talk about how we can be most effective with our innate talent. And you will be amazed to see our special guest today. Um, and she is transforming the local peoples, global, national, and global people. So, contributing greatly with her um, framework specifically, and she's so strong that it attracted me mostly to introduce her to my audience base because sometimes when you are um, uh, sick or when you cannot do such things, we get frustrated. And that time, we lost everything. So we will have problems in our lives. The problems could be many forms. But not thinking about the problems, if we can think about how we can contribute, how we can sort those out, that will help us and support us to grow. I had many problems in my life, but still, I'm contributing, I'm here, I'm talking, I have great achievements. So I will introduce you to Margaret Barry. And hello, Margaret.
Hello. Thank you for
Thank,
inviting me.
thank you very much for joining this live webinar. We will have many guests and people today to listen to you. And specifically, you are on your 80s, and still, the way you are contributing to the community, uh, that attracted me. And I cannot, I don't know that I can still ongoing on my 80s, but you are traveling globally, you are contributing globally. And thank you very much for your contribution to the community.
Thank you for your invitation. I really appreciate it.
So I just wanted to ask you if you could introduce yourself to the audience, um, how you're contributing, maybe a bit more of story um, based on your expertise, experiences, and your work.
Well, thank you. Yes, I belong to a very large family. Was the only girl in a big family, and as a child, I was expected to not want to be too ambitious. Unfortunately, they did not. The family did not understand that I was ambitious. That was what my brother showed me I could be, and so I set out. Initially, I wanted to be a doctor. However, my father said, no, 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 that's not for girls. And so I went into science and I did a degree in nutrition and dietetics. And that's how I started out my professional career. At the same time, I was also a musician. I kept, with my music, and music has remained an incredibly important part of what I believe is important to us as human beings. We cannot do without music. Anyway, so I qualified as a dietitian. I worked for a while and then got married, had a family, continued to work on the side. Then, as my children got older, I went back to university and I started a correspondence course, and I specialized in communication and psychology. And after my children left home, I then qualified as a psychologist. And that I've worked as a psychologist for quite a long time, and then was introduced to the Gallup's Clifton Strengths tool. And what I loved about this is that it is based on positive psychology. For so long, psychology had really focused on what was wrong with people and how did you make it right. And the big thing about Clifton Strengths is it focuses on what is right with people and how can we develop that. So that was my most recent qualification.
Thank you, Margaret. It's been a pleasure to know your work. And to all the viewers today, I also work with Heather, um, Barry,
Yeah.
Margaret's daughter. And I did not know before I speak to you that you are Heather's mother. And I amazed. I said, okay, that's really unusual for me. I haven't seen something like that. Uh, I have done some programs with Heather with her master framework. And when we add our live, time pass away just like this because we talk about the strategy, we talk about how we can include and talk about inclusion and a lot of individual things we talk about. And I was, you are on my um, uh, connection list, and I saw that you also contributing greatly the Clifton framework that you are saying now, and it's also attracted me. Uh, you were specifically working people to support them as a nutritionist. Sorry, I have a strange pronunciation due to my muscles. I cannot pronunciate such of words due to my brain surgery. But that's one of my disability, I would say. So the way you are supporting the community, it's mind blowing, and we wanted to talk about that today. So, thank you again for joining this live conversation. And I wanted to ask to the audience if you wanted to ask us any question, please feel free to ask us through the comment box, and we will try to answer all of those questions for you. Otherwise, we will have a nice conversation with Margaret. And I will be a little bit slow because sometimes I'm a bit faster and it's difficult for Margaret to understand what I'm saying. But I will
Thank
be
you.
a bit slow today, asking questions and discussion. So the first question would be, uh, what is this philosophy behind the Gallup Clifton Strength assessment tools? Because you have mentioned earlier about it. So can you tell our viewers the philosophy behind this tool?
It's an important philosophy, and that is understanding from a psychological perspective that people have natural gifts and talents. All of us are born into this world in a unique, with a unique setup of talents and strengths, which, and the Gallup organization in America, who were always famous for the polls and so on, they liaised with Martin Seligman, who was probably one of the most famous of the positive psychologists in America at the time. And they developed this assessment for helping people to identify their natural ways of thinking, feeling, and behaving. And the tool consists of, I mean, it's an online assessment that people do, and it identifies your 34 is the total number of strengths that they have identified. And those 34 are grouped into four separate categories. How we think, so strategic thinking, the way we relate to people, and that involves our our way of feeling,
Mhm.
how we execute things, how we do things in the world. So the active way in which we do things. And then finally, the way we influence our world. And what is fascinating about this is it's not hereditary in
Mhm.
any way. It is very individual. For me, what excites me about the tool is that it's as individual as your fingerprints.
Mhm.
So an important part of that is that it's not comparable. So nobody can put you and me and say, oh, you're not as good as me.
Mhm.
You are individual. You are who you are. I am who I am. And what I love about understanding this, particularly in the team application, is individuals come together with their individual strengths. How do we bring all those strengths together
Mhm.
to be able to perform?
Okay. Uh, that's great because I was talking to someone um, before last week, and we were talking about I'm a framework. Do you know I'm a framework? Um, so that's the framework to level your different colors, and with different colors, you know your strength, weaknesses, and superpower. I would say. Um, so, when we assess specifically maybe a Gallup framework or any other framework that is available to support people, this framework specifically builds upon the characteristics of individuals and the success of those things. And it's been happening for ages, isn't it? So, how long, when the Gallup Clifton strength-based framework was established? Is it in 80s, 90s, or recent?
Sorry, I didn't quite understand the question, Ashar.
The this Gallup Clifton strength framework. Uh, when it was started, its uh, work with the people.
Um, I think it was back in the 80s that it was first, Martin Seligman was at that time, he was chairperson of the American Psychological Association. And he was passionate about we're looking at what's wrong with people, but let's look at what's right with people and building on that. And I think what is important about the historical thing is that, I obviously lived through the 19th century, and, so much was about we've got to fix what's wrong. We've got to fix what's wrong.
Mhm.
And that really starts people off on a footing of, I'm not okay. And in order for me to be okay, I need to be taught something or learn something, or something has to change. And that starts people off really on a footing of, I've, something's wrong, it's got to be fixed. Whereas the whole of the strength thing is, this is who I am. What can I do with this?
Mhm. I totally agree with you because I personally myself suffered in my childhood. I have fewer strengths, but lots of things that I could not do. I have fear of life, and that time my mother, um, she's still alive, um, 86 now, and she gave me the strength that okay, do the things that you are very good at. Don't
Yes,
think about things that
yes.
you cannot do it because that will give you the strength, focus, as well as the success. So my mother, she wasn't a part of a great society. She wasn't a part of great things. She was educated at that time. My father died, so she was looking after 11 of us. So we were 11 brothers and sisters. So a big family, and my father died in '84, and I was a child, um, and you can understand that uh, her focus was not totally on me. It was that, distributed to among all 11 brothers and sisters. But the way she raised me, do the things you are good at, that
Yes.
transformed my life. And I can see the framework, and I have read something about it, and you will talk about it, that we need to work on the strength that you are good at and bypass all the things you cannot. That will make you stronger. That will make you successful. So we will talk about it. Thank you very much, Margaret, and thank you to the audience for joining today's live webinar. And we have a question from Azama Kuno. Thank you very much for asking these questions. So, why is it is important to focus on strengths rather than weaknesses? So, we will talk about it. And if you could tell our audiences, because I can see from my life that I work on strength based, and that's why I'm here. When I had my brain tumor surgery, you probably don't know that, I was dropped out from my education in the UK. I could not pass my graduation. I could not submit my dissertation. And when I wanted to went back to my education, people said, you had a brain tumor. You cannot do these things. That is not for you. Leave it. You don't need to do education. Don't give pressure to your brain, and you will lose. You will lose in future. I did not care because I know it doesn't matter if I love it. If I wanted to change my future, only I can change it. Some people they said, okay, leave it for your son. I said, what about me? I don't want to fulfill my dream with my son that will not be fulfilled properly. So what I did, I joined again and uh, in education, did my graduation. People mocked at me. I said, okay, don't worry. I was 35 plus. And I did first class. And then people said, okay, it's unusual at this age. And they said, I wanted to masters. They said, no, whatever you have done, good work, and live your life. I said, no, I am very good at this. I wanted to see the end. I did my masters, I did my PhD, and now here I am with fulfillment. Like, okay, I am the person that I wanted to be, and I'm supporting people greatly in the community. That okay, look at me. Who was I? I was valued zero um,
Yes.
uh, after my business fall, and I questioned myself, what is my true value? And it was zero. Now I question myself, what is my value? It's it's valued very wealthy. So I wanted to ask you the question that Azama asked, that why it is important to focus on strength rather than weakness.
You know, I think that a lot of this has to do with the faith that we have in ourselves. And you mentioned, your family's circumstances. And that could easily have worked against you
Mhm,
and actually stopped you from realizing your dreams. However, and again, if we were to do your strengths profile, it may be that you were determined no matter what came your way, you would have succeeded. However, you did have support and you were able to, get what you wanted from this. So you probably have one of the strengths is focus.
mhm,
So no matter what your issues may have been that stopped you or people thought would stop you, your focus was so important that nothing was going to get in your way.
mhm,
And so it's not given to everybody. However, for me, I think one of the things, and this comes from my psychological understanding as well, is that so often we are stopped from doing things because we are told we're not good at something or we can't do this and we can't do that.
mhm,
And therefore, it holds us back.
mhm,
Whereas for me, it's so important to encourage, give space, help, support, guide, none of us is isolated in this world. And so if we can support each other, help each other, not even in a formal way, but in an informal way.
Mhm.
Just, I understand you're struggling. It's okay. I'm here if you need the help and I can help you, then I will. Or if I can't, maybe I can find somebody else that can help you.
That's the greatness of working for people. And thank you. You are contributing greatly. And I can see that it's also, passed to your daughters. They are contributing greatly as well. I know both of your daughters.
Thank
Um, and I think it's a genetic thing that, when you support a specific and when you have a strength, um, and you work on strength-based things that transform people's lives. Um, I myself transform my lives, but I wouldn't do those things to come to this stage if I wasn't supported. Firstly, support start from the family.
you. Yes.
So I was supported by my mother and my elder brother. Uh, he looked after us in a way that a father could do.
Yeah.
And then the support came from my wife, my mother-in-law. They
Yeah.
trusted me. They supported me. They said, okay, you can do it better than what you are doing. We can see you talent. So don't worry about that. Achieve what you wanted to achieve. I struggled with finance. I
Mm.
struggled with mental health problems. That you have a um, um, brain tumor surgery. You lost all of your assets. You don't have, at that time, I wasn't a citizen. So I was an immigrant with a student visa. So I wasn't supported by the social welfare as well. So that time, but still, I was focused that, okay, I wanted to achieve this. Doesn't matter what comes on the way. uh, I have to try because I have seen a lot of people that they fear of failures,
Yes.
and the fear of failures will give you only the failure. They will not give you the success.
Yeah.
So I was in fear of failures. If I cannot do it, that's okay. As you said, that's okay. There are going to be some people they're going to be supporting you. So what I have, so when I started my graduation at my 35 class, I got some supervisors. They supported me. Okay, Shah, I think you have brilliant stories. You have brilliant strength. Why don't you do that? And when I started my graduation, I did not know what shall I do. Where shall I
Yes.
go? But
Yes.
specific people in specific fields, they said, okay, Shah, you can do better.
Yeah.
That gave me who I am now. So I
Yes.
have someone. His name is Ludovico Celio. Um, he's my colleague now at the Portsmouth University. And then I had my supervisors at the Portsmouth University.
Yes.
Shah, you can do it better. Adrian Hopgood, he just retired as a professor. He believed in me. Alice Good, I would say, she believed in me. Shah, you can do it better. And
Yeah.
the way they created me, I had other people in the community, business partners, and so on. So they believed on me. And then I'm here. So as you said, that if you have a strength and if you wanted to grow, it's your innate talent that you will only understand, and then you have to um, um, determine that you can do it. If it's failure, that's okay. You can try again,
Yeah.
and you will be successful. So thank you very much for joining this conversation. And I just wanted to ask our audiences if you wanted to ask us any question, please write on the comment box and we will try to answer your questions. Otherwise, we will continue this conversation. So, my next question would be: how can Identifying unique strengths contribute to personal and professional growth. Why it is important to identify unique strengths?
I think one of the things about understanding the uniqueness is that we begin to stop comparing. Uh, because often, I mean, even look at your story. Compared to most people, you didn't this, that, and the next thing.
Mhm,
And therefore, you could have been prevented from doing things because you weren't like other people.
mhm,
But if we start out but knowing that we are not like other people, that we are unique, then we actually, the criteria that are used for either teaching us, educating us, for us to grow into the world,
mhm,
there are less rigid
mhm,
outlines about what is right and what is wrong.
mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yes, yes,
We find that unique path that may
mhm,
not be the same for anybody else. However,
yes,
it takes us where we want to go. And you know, something, if I may just go back to what you were saying earlier, um, is the whole of the positive attitude for me helps people to move towards something that they desire rather than
mhm,
running away from something they don't want. And that is very important, I think, in this world because it takes far more energy, emotional energy, and all sorts of other energies to run away from something
mhm.
than to move towards.
I totally agree with you, Margaret. Um, Sometimes some people say, um, when I work with them, I'm a little bit pushy. I know that I'm a little bit pushy because if you don't push a little bit, you cannot grow your inner talent.
Yes,
And I think you have a explanation of that in terms of growing inner talent. If you work with those people, they have crossed the boundaries in a way that other people can't. So it's continuous improvements
yes,
as well as trusting your ability to do it. You know, I know that I can't be an astronaut. Why? Because I don't have the um, physical strength to become an astronaut. But if I have a dream that I wanted to become an astronaut, um, doesn't matter that I need to go to the space uh, physically. I can work with my technology. I can work support that
yes.
to fulfill my dream. So, in the way, in the path, my name will be written. So it doesn't matter. I cannot reach that point, but this matter how far I can go. And nowadays, you can see there are physical people becoming astronauts. So when we talk about equal opportunity, when we talk about fairness, when we talk about a lot of individual things, the society they will be ready in future, or the technology they will be aided to us that we uh, we cross that threshold. Like when you are an astronaut, you have to have sense working, you have to have a lot of individual things that working. Uh, but technologically, it's not ready for us. But we can make it happen. But if you don't try, it will never happen. So I'm going to go to my next questions specifically. You know, when you work with people, we were working with many individuals currently. What you specifically um, teach them, or how you develop uh, develop their innate talent, I would say. is your secret sauce working with individuals?
So, once they've identified their natural talents, there's a report that comes with, having done the assessment online and so on. It's very generalized. So, my interest lies in helping people to really dig down deep and get to the real roots. And then almost, I always say it's like, it's identifying seeds, and you can now go and take your seeds and plant your seeds and grow what you want from those seeds. It puts the control with you,
Mm-hmm.
because many, many people, I think, feel that the world controls them.
Yes.
And the world controls, as you were saying earlier, by this is the slot you should fit into. This is how it ought to be. And if it doesn't work like everybody else, then it's not going to work. That is very disrespectful.
I totally agree.
And I think one of the essences of this tool and why I like it so much is that it actually helps you to respect yourself, your real self. And with that respect, we are far more likely to be able to give back to the world in a meaningful way than if we don't respect ourselves.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with you, Margaret. Um, because when you do not have respect, you cannot respect others. So
Yes,
you have to respect yourself to respect others. That is my philosophy, I would say. And mostly, if I'm doing something, I need to believe myself that okay, I'm capable of doing that thing. I can perform well or better, it doesn't
yeah,
matter, or I can perform worse, it doesn't matter. But the thing is that I have believed myself, and that's why I can be the best suitable person for doing that job. And if I do not know something, I will learn it because you know that uh, we do not know everything. It's not
no,
possible for me to know everything.
no,
We have boundaries, but it is possible for us to learn things and get experienced people on board to do
yes,
things. So when I'm working as a scientist, data scientist, when I'm working in specific projects, I bring my knowledge. And if I don't have a specific knowledge, I bring someone that they have understanding of that field.
yes.
So then it fulfilled and we deliver. So that's the way it should be, isn't it? So when you are working with individuals, my next question would be, um, what uh, what is the important to provide honest and uh, intensive response during the assessment? So you told about the assessment. So you do assessment with the people. Um, how long does the assessment take to complete? And what's the what is why it is important to provide honest and intensive responses during the assessment?
So the assessment, the online assessment takes, they always say, allow 45 minutes to do it. There's a large number of questions, and what they want is an intuitive response. They don't want you to sit and think about, am I going to say yes, no, or maybe? They really want that intuitive response to the question, because that way they're much more likely to get a more accurate reading of the person. Um, and again, it's very interesting because one of the talents that they talk about is named competition. Now,
Mhm.
if you by nature are competitive, the most important thing to understand is, are we being competitive to beat other people, or are we being competitive to improve, to grow, to, compete against our previous performance. So it's the subtlety. I mean, there's enormous subtleties in this. And it's the exciting part for me as a coach is to help people uncover those subtleties in the way they actually perform in the world. And I have a great belief, because of my particular strengths, is that cooperation is the way to go forward. Cooperation and collaboration. The better I understand you, the better you understand me, the more likely we are to have fruitful collaboration and cooperation. If I have to fight you because I believe I'm better than you or know more than you, where does that take us?
I totally agree with you. You know that we have talked about it during our previous conversation. Uh, that trust is the main thing. That you need to trust yourself, and as well as you also need to trust your team. So if you don't trust yourself, you will distrust your team, and then you will have a failure. So when you trust your capacity and you are being honest with your capacity, you can bring people to fulfill your gaps. And that's the way you can succeed. So it's like believing yourself and believing
Yes.
others to become successful. And otherwise, I haven't seen anyone. They don't believe themselves and they do not believe others, they are succeeded. In a way, it will be failure. So thank you very much. Thank you to the audiences for joining this live webinar. We have Margaret Barry, and I'm Dr. Shah Siddiqui, a New Vision Business Consortium. And you know that we do this live webinar every week on Tuesday from 12 to 1. And we talk about specifically a lot of individual topics. You can see our previous recording um, within our page on LinkedIn as well as other social media. So thank you very much for your contribution and as well as supporting us. My next question would be, I just want to ask you one question from the audiences or from the audience. Thank you, Shantanu, for sending this question to us. So he just asked, what are the benefits of understanding one's unique patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving?
Lovely question. The most important, I think, is that if we understand ourselves as unique, we are less likely to compare. And cooperation and collaboration becomes more of a challenge when we are comparing.
Yes.
And so the benefit of understanding ourselves as unique is that we bring our unique self to contribute to the whole. All of us belong to groups. We either belong to a family, or we're part of a team, or we're part of the staff at a university.
Mm-hmm.
We're none of us islands.
Mm-hmm.
And so the great benefit for me is I understand myself not to need to compete with you.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm bringing this to the whole. I was recently thinking about the young man who kicked the fancy goal that got us into the finals of the
Yes.
European. He was part of a team.
Yes.
He did fantastic, wonderful, wonderful. But he didn't do it alone. The
Yes.
team had done all that they needed to do, to support him. And so that for me is a hugely important benefit, is that we do not live alone. We are not islands. We're in this world together.
Yes.
And how can we maximize the advantage for everybody?
I totally agree with you. You know, um, when I talk to individuals, specifically um, my offerings, working with people, and my message is very clear that, okay, um, I'm from the ethnic minority community in the UK, specifically Bangladeshi, Asian Bangladeshi, and I have an accent. I'm not born brought up here, so if I wanted to improve my English and pronunciation, I can do it. I'm trying, but as I said, due to my brain tumor surgery, I cannot pronounce certain words due to my muscles and other things, due to my delivery. And I do not believe on specific things that you cannot do it. I believe anyone, they have mental capacity and they can do it. Look at Stephen Hawking. Um, he was, um, he did not have any capacity to work. His brain was working, and he contributed to the world greatly. Doesn't matter what he believes, doesn't matter what he disbelieves, but contributed to the world. So when I'm working with people, my message would be: doesn't matter if you're a black, white, Asian, if your religion is different, Hindus, Buddhists, non-believers, uh, it doesn't matter. It matters you are a human first. So you are a human and you wanted to contribute to the world. You will go. Our previous generations, hundreds or millions of generations, they went. We will go. Future generation will come. But what will stay? The work you're contributing towards the community, building the community, building the society, that will stay. We still reference Newton. We still reference Darwin. We still reference a lot of previous people. And we also reference Hitler. So if you do good things, that will stay and that will transform the society, good way or bad way. This is your, this is your thinking, how you would do it and how you would contribute it. And the people will remember you generation to come. So, Margaret, I just have another question from Farooq Hussain. He just wrote, can understanding your strength improve decision making and productivity?
It's a lovely question too. You know, if, for example, you have a major thing that needs to be decided, decision making. Okay. If I understand, for example, there's something important I also want to add to this about strengths. If I understand, for example, that I am very high in empathy, the fact that that's a relationship building talent. If I am so empathic towards the person that I'm, guiding to a decision, or myself wanting to make a decision, I could be biased by the fact that my empathy is high, that I'm too empathic with somebody. However, again, it's understanding the subtleties of this. And this is where, in fact, the guidance is so helpful of the report that you get along with your strengths. That it's important to understand that a strength can also be so powerful in us that
Mhm.
it begins to work against us. So,
Okay.
a beautiful example is people who have high responsibility. They naturally take on responsibility very, very easily. They find it incredibly difficult to say no to people. So you can see that that could work against them, that they could take on so much responsibility that they begin to suffer.
Mhm.
And this is where the in depth understanding of these strengths is so valuable, is that we use them mindfully. but
Okay.
we also know when to turn them down
Mhm.
when appropriate. I'm not sure that I answered the question. Would you mind just putting it up again for me, please?
So, can understanding your strengths improve decision making
Decision.
and productivity?
Yeah. And I think that again, that's the example that gave about responsibility. I
Mhm.
knowing that there's a possibility that I could overcommit, it will
Mhm.
help me in my decision making. Do I take this? Can I actually effectively do this? Or would it be better for me to delegate it or to just say no? You know. So I think
Mhm.
absolutely the better we understand ourselves, the more it will help actually with virtually everything we do, whether it's decision making or, having going whether we're going to go out dancing or not.
I totally agree with you. I just wanted to share my experiences because I think that will support many individuals. As you know, that I am a neurodivergent. I have autistic tendencies as well as I'm dyslexic. So on my childhood, and there are people out there, I can see them now, that we assume that if something is happening bad in front of me, that due to my inability to handle those things. And when I was working in the street, people came in front of me. I say them, sorry, that is my problem. That I came in front of you, not them. If something happens during the workplace, working with people, uh, oh, sorry, that's my problem. Sorry, I did that. You know, from that characteristics to come to these characteristics, always people wanted to ask me, okay, can you do that? Yes, I can do it. Even um, I don't like it to do it. I used to do it. But when I have personal developments and growth, I have transformed my characteristics. Yes, you said, say no. This is not your fault. If it's not your fault, that is not your fault. You don't need to say sorry because that is not your fault. So these are the things is core for anyone to grow, to sustain. It takes time. It took me quite a long time to overcome my barriers. It will also take time for people that our audiences to overcome their barriers, but you have to start it today. So if you don't start it today, you cannot overcome your barriers because the characteristics you are changing yourself. We talk about neuroplasticity. Uh, if you do not work with that, the neuroplasticity will not grow and you cannot change it. So, Farooq, I think your answer that yes, you need to understand your strength. But as Margaret said, that you also need to understand that you are not over promising things. You
Yes.
are not overclouding things. That is not good for you. So you need to understand and draw a strategic line that is your boundary. So you don't cross that. And if you cross that, you know the consequences. So thank you very much to everyone for joining today's live webinar. And I have specifically enjoyed it talking to Margaret, and we will have some more questions to talk to. My next question is going to be, um, you know, um, applying strength knowledge in daily lives. So that is our next segment. How can you direct your, you know, efforts um, based on your strength? So how can you direct your how can you direct your efforts to um, uh, uh, become strength, like we have ability to do things,
Sorry,
inability to do
I
it.
didn't hear that. We have.
So how you can direct your efforts based on your strength?
You know, it's understanding again, self understanding. is that you get to then be able to look at whatever is challenging you or whatever is being, the next step that you need to take in life, is to fall back on, well, are my strengths, can they help me? How can they help me? And that one does it with quite in a deliberate sort of way. Um, I'll share with you that I have, at my number one strength is a thing called input.
Mm-hmm.
Input means to gather,
Mm-hmm.
and I like to gather learning. As you saw, I move all the time, and I'm about to do another course actually because I can't help myself. But it's knowing that the way in which you make these choices
Mm-hmm.
is helping both me and the people with whom I mix and, you know, live with.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned my two daughters. It's as important for me that my two daughters develop their unique way of being, not under my influence. I
Mm-hmm.
will encourage, but I will not influence the choices they make.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to them. And so the whole, always, it's one of my favorite psychologists and psychological belief structures is based on Carl Jung's work. And one of Carl's great expressions was life is both and. It's not either or. So we take a little bit of this and we take a little bit of that and we understand it from this perspective. Or I don't think that feels right. So it's always being present. What is appropriate now?
Mm-hmm.
Because the decision I make today may not be the same and a worthwhile decision in the future.
I get you. Yes, that's the thing. So, um, my next question would be, how can understanding strength enhance relationship and communication?
Resilience and
Uh, how can understanding strengths enhance relationship and communication?
I still can't get that second one. Resilience and
No. How can understanding strength enhance relationship and communication?
complication.
Communication. So I just gonna how can understanding strength enhance relationship and communication?
Thank you. Right. So, in terms of relationships, again, and enhance the capacity to relate,
Mhm,
is the first thing is we accept that we are not the same. We accept that we are unique.
mhm,
And I have a favorite expression. I say, we don't go to dinner parties and sit there saying, my fingerprints are so much better than yours. We totally accept that our fingerprints are unique.
mhm,
So, can we accept that the whole of us is unique? Not so that we become arrogant with that,
mhm,
but that we can bring our contribution, knowing that together, you know, our relationship is not based on competition, being better than or wiser than or any of those sort of things, but how we contribute. How
mhm.
do we build a relationship? And I
Yes.
believe honestly that it's more, it helps build trust. I can trust you to know that you are not the same as me. And that if we not necessarily want to understand exactly what we stand for, but I'm open to hearing.
Yes.
And that for me builds trusting relationships, is that I'm not judging you as being better than or worse than or wiser than or stupider than. It's not got nothing to do with that. It
Yes.
is Who are you as a unique human being? You're not going to be the same as me. I cannot judge you on the standards that I would have for myself,
I agree with you.
but I want to know what makes you tick.
Thank you, Margaret. Thank you. That was a great answer. And to the audiences, um, we have Margaret Perry, and I'm Dr. Shastidiki, and you are watching our live webinar, uh, New Divergent Business Consortium. We are nearly end of our session. We will ask a couple of questions to Margaret, um, and we will end this program in few minutes time. So the next segment we're going to be talking about enhancing team dynamics and with Clifton strands. So how can we understand individuals and team strength to improve team dynamics with the Clifton strand?
One of my favorite questions, actually,
Okay.
is that, you know, we bring our strengths and we weave a story together. So, in the same, way that any team has assignments and things that need to be accomplished,
Hmm.
if we bring our individual strengths and abilities to that to contribute to the whole,
Hmm.
then we're not competing with each other, we're not wasting resources, we
Hmm.
are focusing resources to bring an answer together where everybody has contributed in their unique way
Yes.
to an answer that would not have been possible if we had not collaborated, worked together, tossed around,
Hmm.
It's for me just, I have to use the analogy of a tapestry. Is every stitch in a tapestry makes up the whole picture,
Yes.
but every stitch is maybe in a different color or a different type of, a material, but it makes up the whole.
Hmm. That's the right thing, and that's the great thing that you have mentioned, because when we work with individuals, specifically, maybe contributing some great things, you will have contributed. So when I talk to individuals, that okay, I'm not superior to you. I'm the, I would say I'm equal, but I have my own strength. And
Yes.
when I work with individuals, it's not like I'm giving it to you. I'm also taking something back, because some people say, okay, you are an academic or you are a mentor. You teach people or you lead people to success. So you are superior. I say no, I'm not superior. I am maybe equal, or maybe I have different set of skills
Yes.
uh, that is leading them to success. But when I'm working with them, I also learn and take things that I'm not good at, and I transform myself learning from them. So when you are in a relationship of mentees and mentors, it's not like that you are giving them things. It's like it's equal for
Yes.
both of you. You're giving something, you're taking something back, and
Yes.
that will make you stronger, and that will make you successful. So thank you, Margaret, for joining today's live webinar. We are nearly end of our session, so I just wanted to ask you um, key takeaways for this webinar. Uh, if you could mention some key takeaways for the um, um, audience from this webinar.
What I'd love people to is to honor themselves as unique human beings, and honoring themselves, know that they bring what is unique to the creation of the whole, which is not brought out of competition and fighting and, disagreement, but contribution that is hopefully helpful for everybody.
Mhm. Thank you, Margaret. And
And thank you for the invitation.
thank you. Thank you very much. So please stay on the line. I will say bye bye to the audience and we will have a chat um, and talk about different things. So thank you, everyone, for joining today's live webinar. I hope you enjoyed today's um, topic. Uh, as every one of us, we have innate talent, and if we nurture our innate talent, we can be successful. Like me, like Margaret, she is in 80s, but the way she is contributing, that's transforming the lives locally, nationally, and globally. So the good thing is that everyone in this world, they have that inner talent. And if you nurture that inner talent, you will be successful. You can proud of yourself and your society, contribute to the society greatly. Your future generation, they will be proud of your work. So don't spend thinking what you cannot do. Spend thinking what you are good at and how you can contribute for yourself and for the future generation. So today, we just end of our session. I will welcome you next week with another episode of our webinar, 12 to 1. Please register. You can see all the programs on LinkedIn, and we will broadcast it through YouTube, Facebook, and all other social media. Until then, I'm Dr. Shah Siddiqui, um, and bye bye, and see you next week.